Almost there, yes. Have you got any more cold or not?
Yes,
It's gone?
As the co-host of my family, I just want to welcome you all to what is an incredible milestone for a man who has more energy than kryptonite. If one was to describe age is merely the number of years the world has been enjoying you. And there is no doubt that we're celebrating a man today that the world, without question, has enjoyed as much as his friends who are here today. So I welcome you and please ask you to have a wonderful time today, and it's going to be a wonderful journey. So enjoy.
Appreciation for this splendid table and my son and Louise for the way that we've managed this event, and we're having a happy time, and that pleases me more than anything.
Yes.
Happy birthday!
Warren is a very dear friend of mine that I've known for many, many years. He's a person that we'd call a folklore historian, an expert on bush ballads and many other aspects of Australian deep culture. Knowing John being one that has always loved a baldy song about being an art student, and artists such as Dobell and Van Gogh and what have you, I thought it appropriate that this prize be utilised on such a day, and that my friend Warren is here today to, as part of your birthday present, Dad, to play a few songs.
Now, I spent my life collecting folklore and songs as signposts to our history, mainly because I wanted to sort of search out the Australian identity, and you, in your paintings, have done just that. You've made Australians very aware of our identity through art, particularly when you started portraying the bush. I mean, many artists have portrayed the bush, and Australia grew up in the bush, we know that. We're very much urbanised now, but before Federation, the bulk of us lived in what we know as the bush. And it has, I think, a lot to do with who we are and how we see ourselves, even though there are all these pressures to become part of a global culture. You know, we're a small nation, and things like books, films, paintings, and I guess songs play a role in making us feel, importantly, who we are. Travelling down the Castlereagh, and I'm the station hand, and I'm handy with the rope and pole, I'm handy with the brand. I can ride a rowdy colt, swing an axe all day, but there's no demand for a station hand along the Castlereagh. And if shift, boys, shift, there wasn't the slightest doubt, we'd have to make a shift, all the stations further out. I saddled up the pony and whistled to the dog, and we made for up the country at the old jiggity jog, jiggity jog, jiggity jog. This old horse I'm riding well, you'll notice what's his brand. Oh, he wears the crooked R, there's no finer in the land. He takes a lot of beating, and the other day we tried for a bit of a joke with a racing bloke at 50 quid a side.
We had to make a shipboard.
I saddled up the pony and a whistle to the dog. Made for up the station at the old Diggity Joe, Diggity Joe, Diggity Joe, go, go. Just remember, it's apparently Australia Day coming up, and all I've got to say is that when God knocked off one night, he said, "This earth's a rotten failure. How to improve it? Now let me see. It's day, mate, or Australia." Happy birthday, John.
I'd like to thank you for that. That's the real Australia. Well before multiculturalism, which we were instructed to observe, where we find it quite naturally that, you see, in one part of last year, Tim and I were in the Pilbara, and there are the bushmen, there are the drovers, and I'm telling you, they believe in the same. I think that's wonderful. Isn't it wonderful that we've had this oration to the beginning of Australia? Thank you.
Which they traversed. Barry now living in London, John still living here. Their friendship has endured into outback trips, painting together, etc. And it seems so appropriate, and more than appropriate, that Barry is here today with Lizzie. And they were to go home early, but on the news of this party happening, they went to great efforts to be here today. And in that, Barry has kindly offered to say a few words about John, and we welcome him as a dear friend, an old friend of John's. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was asked if I would kindly say a few words before John got a chance to make a speech. First, unfortunately. I have gone, as usual, to a bit of trouble. And observers will see that I've spilled a good deal of the entree on my suit already. I think it's here. I'm going to read a poem to you, written in some haste, and with imperfections, which you only find in my unremunerated book. Get a copy for the time capsule, John. There might be some metrical inconsistencies, but here we go. It's an ode to Olsen. Let me take you back to Sydney in 1954. And now it's possible to say the whole decade was a bore. I had just come up from Melbourne, very young and very green, and I surveyed with apprehension the Sydney sinful scene. I saw myself as an artist and a budding intellectual. And in Sydney I discovered my first cockroach and homosexual. Interchangeable, isn't it? My theatre job in Phillip Street was rather underpaid. But washing hung out in Phillip Street and ragamuffins played. the road swooped down to the quay to that Kenneth Slessor blue, just before the Carl Expressway completely wrecked the view. An opera house was mooted. Did we need one? Hard to tell. It could easily be converted to a brilliant RSL. Opinion on its relevance was divided in two camps, but we needed something cultural to put onto the stamps. Compared to Melbourne, Sydney was much noisier and seamier, and I trawled the pubs and clubs in vain, searching for Bohemia. There was something called the Push, which was in fact a club for losers. Not many artists joined this forlorn fellowship of boozers. Yet sometimes in this assembly of beer, BO, and beard, in this grotty caravanserai, a real artist appeared. One day in the saloon bar, with its atmosphere unwholesome, burst a handsome should be paid for this. John Henry Olsen. And that is the first time in the history of literature that Olsen has been rhymed with unwholesome. You wondered if I would get around to mentioning our honoured guest. But of all the people in my youth, I remember John the best. The Sheilas all adored him. The blokes confessed he had a brain. But he caused a furore when he announced he was moving to Balmain. A slum. But Olsen had a quality which Australians find stressful. He had that annoying aura of one destined to be successful. But were we really so provincial in those years when Menzies reigned? You could be inappropriate with an actress and nobody complained. But the years passed, few friendships last, but John and I stayed cronies, united by a love of art and a deep contempt for phonies. Now John Henry Olsen's 90, and he's looking fit and fine. And I keep reminding him that 90 is the latest 89. John, you could have been a poet, or a writer, or an actor. But instead you gave Australian art that unique thing, the wow factor.
No attempt to riposte this darling character. Such a good analysis of human personality. And we've been out painting together. You know, he is a very good artist. And I'm able to tell you, very eclectic, that there we are in the Flinders Ranges. And whilst I only have a watercolour set and little kind of things that I can only do drawings, Barry arrives with canvases and easels and oil paints. And we set him up because he's unfamiliar with these circumstances, and we squeeze the paint out on his palette to help him, and he then begins painting. And after half an hour, he announces, "I'm a Fauvist." And we say, "That's absolutely marvellous." Scrub, 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 dum, dum, ding, dum, dum, dum. An hour later, "I'm not a Fauvist. I'm an impressionist." And then we are then travelling towards lunchtime, and he makes this analysis. "I am not a Fauvist. I am not an impressionist. I'm a failure." Yeah, but failures they were not, because he loves art. And you're never a failure if you love art, provided you don't think too much. So there's all of this that Barry, by association, and his caring and his wonderful satire of the Australian personality, probably, no, not probably, the best we've ever had. Far better in range than, for example, Roy Reid. So it's very fortunate that we have this wonderful person, this creative person, who has given us time, Edna. Who's given us the remarkable character of, it's a Whitlamist character, Sir, what's his name again?
Les.
Sir Les. Oh my God, he's so revolting, he's marvellous. and so it goes, and what a privilege it is. And I'm drawn to a poem by Yeats. "Old age is but a paltry thing, a tattered coat upon a stick, unless soul sings, Laola sings through the tatters of his mortal dress." And I presented this very same poem to the Australian artist that you'd all know, a wonderful character, Lloyd Rees. And he said, "How did you know that?" Oh, I said, I just stumbled across it. He said, "That's my favourite poem. Unless soul sings and louder sings, and life is a newborn day, and continue to be optimistic, because the bloody alternative isn't good." Now, I want to really thank you all for coming, and an appreciation for this splendid table, and my son and Louise for the way that they've managed this event.
Inspired by you.
Anyway,
There we go.
okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! I just want to tell you a little story about last night. We went to dinner with my beautiful friend Sonia, who's come out all the way from Cape Town, and with her daughters, and we went and dined at Aria. And it was wonderful because we were spending time with some beautiful new friends in our lives, but also we were killing time. Anyway, we finished dinner and we got home last night at about 11 o'clock, and John said, "I think I need a glass of Sancerre." I said, "Okay, Dad." So at about 11:45, I said, "Dad, I think we've got a big day tomorrow, perhaps we should go to bed." He said, "No, I just want to make sure that I get to 90. But Dad, what a wonderful life you've given so many. You know, it's not just to do with your immediate family, your children, but everybody that's known you has been filled by your essence to give. And when you talk about your great mantra of that being that there are lovers and others, and you know what you can bloody well do with the others, you have taught me and Louise so much about the importance of giving rather than taking. This young man was born in a house with no art and no books. Who could explain how this man has been able to give a view of Australia that encompasses so much more than, as Edmund would say, any other landscape artist who would probably be the most evocative landscape artist of the 20th century? And I think Edmund's perfectly correct in saying that the way you have helped us to understand this country. I think Edmund also said in a speech when John Howard awarded him the Artist Medal that if you don't understand Olsen's work, you don't understand Australia. And nothing could be truer. I never forget going to dinner at John Laws's one night, and he said to me, "Is your father still painting those pictures? I don't understand." And I said, "Yes. Are you still doing that radio show he doesn't listen to?" But it's been an interesting life. It's been a very interesting life having a father like John, particularly at school when playing rugby, when all the fathers would turn up in tweed jackets, and John would turn up in jumbo cords and a red scarf and a beret. And I'd be packing myself into a scrum, and some country boy from Nyngan would say, "Olsen's old man must be a puff." But at the end of the match, all the fathers were together, and all the mothers were at the other end of the field, and there they all were eating out of Dad's hand. And I said, "Boys, you told me his father's a puff." But really and truly, Dad, you have been such an incredible father. We understand that you've had to put art first in so much of your life because it was your calling, and that you've certainly, with Louise and I, give us an education beyond any material reward. You've taught us inadvertently through having to find our own feet that we've been able to forge our own careers and our own future and understand the value of character and true spirit. And we thank you so much, Dad, for this wonderful life you've given us. And you've set the family up for many, many years of how we as a family can continue to contribute to Australia. And we thank you for that. And happy birthday. Happy birthday.
What a remarkable exaggeration. Anyway, look, my dear friends, you are all here because you mean something to me, and you can't do it all by yourself. To be an artist, there has to be an inner engine in you, but it's friends like you that give warp and weft to my life. And I thank you, and that's why we're sitting together at this joyous table and having fun.
Okay,
Where do I start?
in the middle. What then? Up the top.
Oh, I
Where are
can't
you
do
going to
it.
touch it?
can. Yes, you can.
How about through there?
Don't catch it.
Or
Don't
down
catch
the
it.
end, where
Don't
you-
catch it. You
But
dig
it'll
off.
only go
Now
halfway
it
down.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. In, that's it. And just a little bit. That'll do. Make a wish. Can you make a wish?
That's it.
Yeah.
Make it.
Here I come.